Hello.
Doug
Hey,
edited
everybody.
that?
He did. Isn't that amazing?
Terrible.
I think I already need my tissues.
Fucking terrible. Mostly Scientology footage. What the fuck was that, man?
Well, you know what?
A
He was a
picture of Doug
teacher.
and a bunch of Scientology footage. Fucking
Yeah.
terrible.
Oh, stop. You guys would rib each other, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If he was here, what would he say to you?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish he was still here.
Me too. So, hi, everybody. Hello to everyone who's watching. Thank you for being here. We got some mods in here. Thank you so much, George and Hef. Jane Post. Hello. Already the Zini Marlene's.
Oh,
Hey.
Good timing.
We got Joe McCoy. Any trolls? No, we're not doing trolls tonight. So I don't think any of you need any introduction, but we can go around, and we've got in Theta, many of you know, is Marcus. Hi there, Marcus.
Hi.
And you were a friend of Doug, and he talked about you all the time. He said that you were one of the first people that really helped him when he left Scientology.
Yeah, he watched all my videos.
Yeah. Yeah, he said you really helped him. He said you really helped him a lot.
And it was a ugly, grotesque sequence of me going through a metamorphosis. You know, I just documented it as I went, and it was gross. And I've seen it with others, and that's the way it can happen sometimes. So, but the specific interest that he had was that where I was and what I did, because it directly involved his mother and father and sister and family.
And that was what, the org that you worked at, or?
It wasn't an org; it was a mission.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Which aren't considered, anything anymore. So,
right.
There's a lot more stories. There's a lot. There's infinite.
Yeah.
Up to infinity. And it's not just Scientology; it's everywhere. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll definitely come back to you and everybody. So we've got going clockwise here. We have Marisa, Diane Addix. Hi, sweetie.
Hey, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, it's just, I have this new phone. I don't know if it's working out too well, but hola.
Sound good.
I don't have cool backgrounds like you all have.
Yes, you do.
I see in Theta's, his is like a planet Earth. I don't know what that is, but
you look comfy. I like that.
That's a cool, whatever he's got going on there. Yeah, just thank you, Marilyn, for having this. And I don't know, I guess it's weird reflecting a year back and then realizing that this is sort of, the 1 year anniversary of, but it is weird. Sometimes it takes a long time for things to kick in, and it has with Doug, and it's a little rough this year around, to put it nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, especially this time of year too. It's really hard for a lot of people. And it just went by so fast. Like, I can't believe it's been a year. I didn't want to let it go by without in some way, honoring him and bringing together some people that knew him. And I didn't know him for very long. We talked a lot on the phone, especially for the last 6 months or so that he was with us. And I got to know him really well, but I don't have that history with him that you do. So I really wanted to have you and Marcus on, and also philosophy. He spoke very, very highly of you. And I know there are so many people that he touched their lives in this sphere that weren't in Scientology, but, most of you know, I'm a survivor of a different cult. And Sophie, you really brought a lot to the table. He loved your questions. I loved your questions, and he really was fond of you. So if you want to just kind of take us
Yeah.
through how you got to know him and what what
Okay.
he meant to you.
Yeah. Well, hi everyone, and it's lovely to be here with two of Doug's friends and Marilyn, his other friend, who he absolutely adored. All three of you. Um, and thanks for having me here. But as you guys know, I used to ask Doug all the questions, and sometimes he knew that I knew the answers to them, but I asked them anyway.
He said that. Yep.
Just yeah, I came to find Doug's work. He kind of Doug combined a lot of my areas of interest together. So I've been down many of the rabbit holes I'm sure Doug's been down, and decided to look into Scientology a bit more, and there was more stuff available on YouTube, because back in the early 2000s it was very difficult to find any information about Scientology. It was really difficult, apart from the odd BBC documentary and stuff. And I sort of suspected that Scientology's connected to a lot of other ideas of and areas of research. So I wanted to find out more.
Hmm.
And I found Doug's channel. I think it was probably early 21.
Bless you, whoever.
Um,
Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
And um,
She says thank you.
Aw.
and I used to watch like when I found his channel, I was like, oh my God, he's combining all these other things that I'm interested in and linking it to Scientology and explaining it. Just he explained things really well and
He did.
kind of in layman's terms so that anyone could understand what he was talking about. And then I used to watch the videos he did with you, Marcus, and your Flashback Fridays. So
Yeah, I remember you from Backflash. Totally.
yeah.
Like I've never
And-
seen your face, but I've always remembered your name because philosophy was you were always active in the chat.
Yeah. And he cracked up when obviously he realized my name was Sophie. And so he made a point of saying on one of his things, he's like, it's
Philosophy.
fellow Sophie. Yeah.
Hello,
Well, because
Sophie.
I'd messaged him and I
Hello.
said, oh, I hope you don't think I'm like a know-it-all or a philosopher or anything because of my name. I said, really, it's just a word play on Sophie. And so I think that's why he said that. Yeah,
Well, it's
but
a
just love
great
his
handle.
content. Yeah, it's
I
my
sort
email
of thought the
address.
same thing too, though, Marcus. Like when I first saw her name, I really did think the same thing.
What?
Like
Great handle.
like the way you said it, like that's how my brain sort of translated it too.
As
Like
fellow Sophie.
like
Yeah, well,
I
that's
would-
good.
I was reading it as philosophy, but you know how things don't look right, but you think, wait, is that how it's
Yeah.
really spelled? So I just thought of philosophy, but then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Okay, it's not an IE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I came up with it
Funny.
years ago when I was
Really
at art
cute.
school. And I've always loved words and word plays and like just how words are used. And I was writing some essay about philosophy, and there's a variation on the word philosophy which is spelt Sophie. I think it's when you say
Sophistry.
philosophies. And when you say philosophies, it's spelled SOPHIES or something. So, and then I was like, oh, I could do a wordplay with my name. So that's
love
where
that.
it came from.
That's
Well, you had
awesome.
the sophists. What is philo
Yeah.
in Greek?
Well,
Anyone in
philosophy is
chat
the
know
study of wisdom.
philo?
So
Philo.
Philo,
Yeah, it's
philo.
Oh my goodness.
that's
You're really gonna
like
ask
Philadelphia. Yeah, isn't it like
Mm.
one of the words for like love? There's like brotherly. There's okay, so in the Greek, this is what I learned in my religious days was in the Greek language, there were like 3 words for love. And there was like philos, which was like Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. That's one type of love. And then there was agape, which was like the unconditional love it's supposedly God has. And then there was eros, which was like romantic, like
Look at
that's
you.
where
You just pull that
that's where
shit right out your head.
erotic.
Yeah.
Well, that's was just pounded into my head
That's
because
what I
we had
mean, dude.
we
Marilyn
we had
knows like
all
a
kinds of
lot
stuff.
of things. Marilyn knows way more than she's letting on to the public.
Mhm.
Like,
I don't
with
want
her,
to. I know
That's
that much
smart.
about
That's
Christianity.
smart. Don't
no,
tell
like her
nobody
Christian
shit.
stuff. I'm not even like sick because I don't know, but I'm like, dude, she is like the professional Christian lady with weird cult Christian questions.
I did say erotic. Yeah, we weren't
Like
allowed
she
to
knows
say it.
everything about.
Erotic.
I'm just
Erotic
keeping it
fiction.
politically correct, but I'm like, I don't know.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
I had to memorize tracks of like the Hebrew Greek lexicon and commentaries and stuff. So I just like with you guys really impressed me because I'm not a great communicator, but it's in there, but I have a hard time getting it out. But you all are, especially the ex-Scientologists, like you guys are like walking dictionaries, and a lot of you didn't have formal education, but that doesn't matter at all. You guys are really smart.
I have a general education diploma, otherwise known as a good enough diploma, that I got in 1998 when I was 17.
Awesome.
And I was a
barely
valedictorian. I
graduated
scored the highest. I was like,
on your GED.
fuck school. It was too stupid because I was already experiencing all kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you know what's weird? You know what? I received my GED in 1996 when Kurt Cobain was still alive,
yeah.
and I think my loser dropout story is better than yours.
No, it can't be.
Yes.
Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, because we
Are you
had like
gonna
the
tell us,
highest
Mom?
dropout, and we had the highest dropout rate in the nation. Like Arizona back when Kurt Cobain was alive.
It's his fault.
It doesn't matter. I still dropped
guys are so
out, but
funny.
everyone in Arizona was dropping out. So,
Sell the kids.
do you know who are the top like lowest states of education? It's Arizona,
Don't know
Louisiana,
this.
and Mississippi.
Well,
Interesting.
Mississippi,
Isn't
I
that
believe,
weird?
man. I've been in Mississippi, man. I've spent a lot of time in Mississippi.
But I'm like, how did Arizona?
Purvis,
Because we're
Hattiesburg,
not like exactly,
Oxford.
we're not super smart individuals, but I'm like we shouldn't
You
be
are.
in the lower
Reasonably
3.
intelligent.
Yes, you're very intelligent. And I don't give Scientology.
Intelligent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't give
Scientologists.
Scientology credit for that. You guys are just smart.
No.
Well,
But
if you
also
watch the Dianetics video, like there's a clip of from Backflash. It says any two reasonably intelligent people can do it.
it does say that. I just watched that the other day, actually.
And we stopped the tape, and it was
Here's-
we just couldn't fucking any two reasonably intelligent people. Like, nah, if you're a fucking dumbass, just don't even bother. You know, like you can't.
So I want
audit
to say two things. One is I can see by you guys interacting, seeing how you're interacting. It's like I can totally see how Doug would be friends with, pick you guys as friends because he had that kind of like ribbing kind of sense of humor. He used to just give me shit. I loved it. It was just so funny. But the other thing was I wanted to ask you, Marcus, how
Doug was
like-
just a weirdo. Like Doug's friends were weirdos, and no, I'm just
That's
Funny.
us, Marie. So I love, we call it banter. I don't know if that's
Yes.
if you guys use that word, but
Yes.
we call it
Yes.
banter. And I love me good banter. And I really appreciated how Doug
I
liked
like
banter.
banter, locker room talk, ribbing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I used to run a brothel, so I love.
Well, there you
I
go.
can get down for some good
Yeah.
banter.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Especially with
did you-
guys.
Take the piss. Take the
If
piss.
any-
is another
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. If any of you saw Kelly Copter did last year, she did 3 episodes of the werewolf game, and Doug loved it. He was the star of like all 3 of them. He
I got
played
someone-
all 3. I think he was the only one that played all three. And his banter, I mean, it was so great because, well, of course he was an actor, right? He was so good at it. It was just, he could just improv, and it was amazing. He was just so good at it. I really, really
Yeah,
missed
we
him.
had a blast. We had a blast doing Backflash. I hope to do another, like, at least 2 things, because there were things that we were planning,
Yeah.
afterwards, because we did um the Bridge to Total Freedom was the big project
Mm.
that we did on Backflash, and then there was the TRs, and then objectives, and then other steps on the bridge, like basically all of the bridge that you could go all the way up to OT, and sort of explain some of, because there's no way to compile it all into these segments that we were doing for an hour. And
Right.
he wanted to do 2 hours. I'm like, no, 1 hour, because we need to compress all of this shit into a digestible format. It's a lot of information that you can just fire out into the whoever's watching, right? But 1 hour, because it actually it worked out. He even said it worked out better that way, because it helped him cut the fluff, cut the bullshit, like less examples, more proof, if that makes any sense. Or
those were intense, Marcus. I mean, I used to watch them all. I don't think they're all up on his new channel. I swear there's other ones I
there
remember.
was
But
backed up the 3 days, 72 hours before he died. Everything was backed up on my
good.
end of things, and
But I mean that's his third channel. Remember, his other 2 got removed.
yeah, there's videos that he and I did that are gone forever.
Yeah, that's what I
and
thought.
that's unfortunate, because there were 3 videos. One of them was 5 hours fucking long.
Yeah, I
And
was looking for something specific and I couldn't find it in any
it's
of the
not
ones
there.
on his channel.
It's not there.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that those 3 were the ones that he was the most concerned about. It was it got saved on StreamYard, but and I presume that it stayed there until he died. But I think that there were some messages or accounts that may have been compromised on maybe slightly before or after his death, because the to get a wellness check done is actually not as easy as you think, especially in a big city like LA.
Yeah.
Marissa and I were talking about this earlier. Yeah, because people were calling, like, just everyone, random people calling random fucking places trying to fight. It's like, you realize how big LA is, man.
Massive. I just got back from there.
Yeah, so you have to contact family, and then even then, it was it took some greasing of the wheels to get the wellness check done in a timely manner, because otherwise it might have been 2 weeks, and it would have been really tragic. I mean, it's tragic already, but the
I guess basically what it is in Phoenix is the same way too. You're lucky to have a wellness check or discover that someone has been passed away. It usually takes about 3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it goes in the inner city. In large metropolitan Phoenix metropolitan area is 5 million. Los Angeles is 20 million. And
and they got it done in 4 or 5
people don't
days.
understand that sometimes.
It was about 5, maybe 6 days, but it was because that time period just was all run like a blur, because I was basically up and then passing out, waiting for phone calls, waiting for texts, and then Tony messaging me trying trying to be respectful because it's like at a certain point we all everyone assumes he's dead, you know, and you can't help but, you know, make that assumption at a certain point. Uh, but I didn't make that assumption at first, and I didn't for a few days, and so that was what was keeping me up, you know, partly, and then the other half was keeping me up was when I realized that he fucking might well be dead. So, it, you know, this first anniversary or whatever, it really, I don't feel particularly like you know good today. Uh, I don't feel good about. Uh, I feel like it's kind of lame to sit around and talk about uh, Doug like if he's not here. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's. I do feel like it's within our purview and interest to express how we feel, you know. So it's kind of like on one hand and the other,
Yeah.
because Doug would probably, you know, I imagine when we would talk, it's like, okay, well, if he was here right now, like, or prior to this, and we were talking, you know, it was like, well, what can we do next? You know, what can we do next to show some kind of shine some kind of light on something. I mean, he and I only did Scientology stuff. He did way more than that, like philosophy was saying. Like he goes into Manson, he went into
Yep.
the Process Church, which there's an interesting, weird little connection with me and gaming and the Process Church because uh, the one of the guys that infiltrated that church that they pulled out in the late 70s, William Sims Bainbridge, was researching in a game I was playing for digital and conversion and diversion in digital worlds, and it's like a college book somewhere. But like he was involved in the Process Church, and I was a Scientologist at that time in those years, 2009. I was still thinking, and I was also experimenting with the tech and seeing, you know, how it affects people, and basically like lab rat and all of the people that I played with in the guild. But it, you know, it taught me a lot about how easy it is once you once someone bites into the hook, you know, once you gain the loyalty and there you can there's something maybe concrete for that person, and then you show them that you're loyal, and but you're really not, and you're just controlling them, and like you could get them to do anything. It's dark
Terrifying.
psychology. It's exactly the things that work in coercive groups that work for doing good things. You can do, you know, it's like the fucking, you know, George Lucas, like the Jedi's and the Sith.
Yeah. And when I wanted to say while you were talking, I was thinking about how Doug had a way of boiling things down, like philosophy said, putting things in layman terms and kind of making it applicable to like even what I was going through at the time, really deconstructing my experience. He said a few things to me that I was like, oh my God, I can totally relate to that. Like he was saying how cults will, no matter what cult you're in, will basically lay this thing on you, like say this is your problem, this is your whatever you call it, ruin. With me it was my sin nature, you know, my the things that I had, like hang-ups and things. And he said, you know, he didn't know that he had a reactive mind until they told him he did, and then we can fix that. So it's like they give you the problem and then they say they can fix it, you know? And so we did, like you said, Marcus, how you had started this series with him and a project. I had things with him that we were gonna do. We had just started one series of just breaking down the language and comparing them to other cults and how, and he would explain things so easily. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I understand that. Like, I remember reading in the, what is it, the what's his name? And I totally drawing a blank, but the book that he read, the cult book.
Steve
Yeah,
Hassan.
Steve Hassan, that's his name.
Mind control.
That's right. That's right. And about talking about the unfreezing and setting your mind and, changing your mind and then refreezing it. And I was like, oh my God, I can see that happening. So we talked about that process. And so, like, I think that to your comment about, like, what are we doing here? Like, here we are a year later talking about him. And I have my feels, it's like hard to think of, like, it's been a year and how I felt last year. And in some ways I still feel the same way. But what can we do is just move on, but also not forget the influence, he had in my life, and also continuing the work and whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree, Marilyn. And I said something similar to Marisa the other day. I said to her, because her and I are going to do a video together at some stage. And I said to her, I think that's the way we can honor Doug, is to tell our stories and speak our truth and do what he did. And I sort of was thinking about him the other day when I filmed that video last week. And I think what he did so brilliantly was, by him telling his story and him being vulnerable to us, the viewers, it helped us relate. And so we can recognize that ourselves. In ourselves. And I really think that's what he was trying to do, was to show the micro and the macro. Like, it's not just Scientology. Scientology is one thing of this pattern that keeps reoccurring with what Marcus said, with the dark psychology and all the shit that led me to want to learn about Scientology, with how it connected to all these other things. And when you step back far enough, it's all the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're all doing the same thing. Marilyn's cult. I mean, those Pentecostals, they are freaky. But if you strip back all the decoration of the illusion of what it is, or I call it the costumes and the magical fairy dust that the cult leaders put on top, you take all of that back, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of aesthetic.
Propaganda. The CIA do it. I mean, you did that brilliant feedback video, Marcus, to my edit I did of Doug and the controlled opposition. And, you got it, because it's like that. What's that ex-CIA dude? This Steve, I can't pronounce his surname, Bustamante or something.
Andrew Bustamante. Yeah, I mean, for all we know, he could or could not be. He could be
There's a reason he's talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's a controlled disclosure.
You're not allowed to talk like that unless you're allowed to talk like that.
Controlled disclosure.
Yeah. So I was very much like Doug. I'd researched a lot of the things he researched. Like, he said once on his video, he was saying that before 2017, there was a lot more information on YouTube that you could find. And when he said that, I was like, oh my God, he's so right. Like, I've been trying to find these videos of, Alphabet Agency whistleblowers that I used to watch back in the 2010s. They're nowhere. They've all been like scrubbed from the internet.
Yeah, well, I mean, ain't not a goddamn thing you can do about it, or anyone else. So,
all we can do is tell our stories and try and
tell your story, live your life,
and try and be like a light in the world. And
this little light of mine,
bring more unity. Sure. I think
I know that song.
Unity.
I bet you do.
Yep. All the old songs.
Like that song.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we learned it a different way, because it was like, this little mile of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And it was like, don't let Satan it out, I'm gonna let it shine. So it was about Satan. Of course, they had to bring Satan into it and scare the shit out of you.
The fear of God.
This
Fear
one's
of God.
for Doug. This is Doug's He
Oh yeah,
loved this.
I'll
He
join you.
loved my bong that
So
I made.
we had this thing, Marcus. This was after the Monica thing, because I remember I didn't
Oh,
chat a lot.
Monica.
I was scared to comment for the longest time, and here I am. I have a channel now, but I used to watch you guys all the time. But I remember the Monica nights, the drinking
Oh
game
yeah.
when you say Monica, and I loved how
Yeah.
you weaved it into the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they said it. So Doug came up with this thing because you used to do Xenu, right? As whenever somebody would say Xenu, you'd have to partake in whatever you had in front of you. And then when he did some streams with me and asked me to share my story, and I had a lot of trauma early on in my life. And so he brought my cult leader, his name was Marlene. So he would say, let's do Xenu Marlene, every time you need a break, because I would start to get sniffly and crying. And he'd say, okay, let's take a break. Let's, I had a big giant glass of wine that night. And the first night we started it. So Kelly Copter made this cute little overlay. So he had it too on his channel.
Yeah.
So when we'd have to take a break, we'd say Xenu
Oh,
Marlene.
okay.
And yeah.
I love how he did that for you, Marilyn.
And I love how the shit is right on my screen. I love that.
Well,
Yeah, that's great.
that
Appreciate
was
that.
because we were threatened with because in the Bible it talks about the dung heap. Like Marlene, my cult leader would say that if you were disobedient to God, you would be cast onto the dung heap. And so I used to joke with Doug about that. So we put she represented the poop emoji, and then and Xena represented the alien. So
that's why they're up there. I get it now.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, Marlene was the poop emoji.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like words have power as well. And Doug doing that with Xenu and Marlene, it's like taking the power back from those words,
Yeah, because I would tell him I love being on the dung heap. It's like it was such a threat. I didn't really know what that meant, but it was supposed to be a terrible thing if you left the cult, because we had the truth. And isn't it funny how every cult says they have the truth, So if everybody has the truth, maybe mostly nobody does,
Oh,
Well,
I always have a problem with that. I mean, I didn't grow up in a cult or anything, but my mum's obsessed with religion. So I just went to every single church and religion you can imagine, like my whole life. So luckily they never joined anything. And my mum said to me once, she's like, as soon as they tell me what to think and that I can only believe this one religion, then I'm out. And so I always remembered that. I think she told me that when I was quite little. Yeah. So I guess I'm lucky.
That's good. Yeah, I adopted that with my kids. Once we left the call, I was like, I'm never telling you guys that you have to go to church, what you have to believe.
No.
It's because I know how oppressive it was as a kid. So Marcus, were your parents in Scientology? I can't remember your story. No, they weren't. Okay. I wasn't sure.
Didn't you join when you were 20 or something?
Yes.
Or were you a bit younger?
20, 21. It was 2000. It was right after 2001. So, 21. No, it was after. It was not long after 9/11.
Yeah. I was 20 when I joined the commune cult. That I was brought up in a culty type church, a Pentecostal church. But then, when I was 20, I was 36 when we left. So 16 years in the kind of commune part. That's when I was really indoctrinated. But that's what I read, that age is a really it's an age that cults like to prey on, that people of that age, especially college campuses and things like that. And this whole doomsday thing of especially after a terrible tragedy like 9/11, get you thinking. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there were other traumas around that. Like my cousin Bradley was murdered, shot in the head. Oh, supposedly over $12, but where he got shot, I know the place, and I was I got my GED when I was 17, but prior to that, I was an emancipated teen, and
Really?
I only had however many hours you can work. It was 20 hours a week legally, and until 17. Like, I mean, technically I think they could have done 40 hours, but they never did because other workers wanted, like the older workers had preferential treatment for getting extra hours. I worked at Pizza Hut,
Really?
but I sold fucking weed and all kind of other shit
Sweet.
to
Back in the
everybody
day.
back in the day. Yeah, I mean, I was 16 and on my own, and I had a car note, and I had rent, and I had all this shit to pay, and
God.
like, the Pizza Hut 20 hours a week. I mean, yeah, I can hold that up as a front, but if I'm supposed to be adulting out here, I'm gonna have to actually make some fucking money. So I did what I had to do, and I ended up paying a total of $700 and something in fines when they finally tried to bust me, and they did a full raid. There was they tore the house apart and found nothing, and then one guy comes in just as a last check and grabs my puzzle box, a Christmas puzzle box, and opens it and just dumps it over like fuck your puzzle. But at the bottom of that was a baggie, and it had a couple of seeds and a couple of stems, and that was all that I had in that house. Had they been there a different, like the day before or a day previous to that, they would have found a lot more, but there was nothing. So
Wow.
yeah, like it was, to make that much money to live, 16 is tricky. So like opportunities like that aren't legit and they're criminal activities present themselves because other people who are older don't want to be implicated. They'll let someone else do
Oh, was this in the LA area? Where did you grow up?
This is in Louisiana.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I gotta
I-10
I gotta
corridor,
refresh my
major
memory.
drug corridor. Houston,
Wow, yeah.
Louisiana's hardcore, man.
Houston to New
I've heard
Orleans.
that, yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't think my 16-year-old son couldn't survive on the streets of Louisiana. I don't think he could.
it depends where, but I mean, because a
Well,
lot of
he's
this
very
stuff,
sheltered.
things are farther apart. Drugs get transported in, bulk usually, with rider cars and ahead and behind and scouts and stuff. And some of it is like shot through. Like these guys are crazy. They'll drive with their lights off on these long highways going out to New Orleans to get it to Oakdale, and then anyways, there's routes and they're
Crazy.
straight, the straightest routes, and to get it quick, to get the stuff down there quick to turn over, because the Houston can produce so much for Mexico and everywhere else. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Massive.
Hmm?
I love the legal weed in America. It's so great.
Me too.
love
That's all I ever
I love
fucking
being able to
wanted.
go to
Like,
the
I mean, I
shop
was
and
saying this shit when I was a teenager. Like, hey,
so good.
I'm fucked up and I need to smoke. Is that cool? No, it's not cool. Why? Fuck, man. If you just let me smoke, I'll be all right. I'll be all right,
And that's
man.
why I
And I
never
think
joined
a
a
bunch of
cult.
other people be all
So
right
smoke weed.
too. But throwing people in jail, and then there's a whole disparity in this area, specifically Calcasieu Parish. The disproportionate number of arrests for the same crime, but different race.
Yeah,
We've
of course.
incarcerated more.
Deep south there.
Yeah, more African American males have been incarcerated for minor marijuana possession than in anywhere.
Oh.
I mean, like, what the fuck?
So stupid.
The CCC is a prison down the road, and it's just full.
Well,
You know,
if
and they're
that's not racist policy, I don't know what is. Like,
yeah, no,
Yeah.
what's the reason for
basically.
that? You can't tell me more black people smoke weed in Louisiana
No,
than white
no,
people.
no. It's
So,
just
I mean,
they're
we've had the
already
same
in the
thing here.
system. You know, there's a system, and it's like it's. I mean, here in Lake Charles, there's still a railroad track. You know,
Yeah.
It-
I mean,
it- it-
that's lynching country, isn't it? Around there back in the
well,
day.
back in the day, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely. This was where I live is actually part of no man's land, which wasn't even it wasn't Louisiana, it wasn't Spain, it wasn't Texas, it wasn't anything for a long time. Between the Sabine River and the Calcasieu River. And
Okay.
uh so yeah, I mean, even if it like if you can imagine the worst kind of crime, like hate crimes that were legal in the
Mm,
in a parish of Louisiana, like no man's land. I mean, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
right. I've heard about that.
A lot
Yeah.
of the Texan, like the cowboy culture, not the Hollywood one, but the essentially the um, gang culture from like the the Earps, the
Like White Earp.
McCoys, see, he was not just a cowboy killer. He kind of made his own brand of cowboy. He killed so many people.
I've always wanted a coat like his. I love those coats with the
Trench
White
Coat,
Earp
coat,
yeah.
coats with the tail.
the
Oh my
leather
god,
trench
best.
coat.
Yeah.
No,
Well, they had some
it's
fine.
like a jacket, but it's flared. It's like a tailcoat, but it's flared on the sides. It's the White Earp jacket. Like it's famous. Yeah,
Yeah.
always wanted one. One day I'll get one.
So is it okay if I read some of the comments coming up? We got
Yeah.
George in the background, and we got a lot of nice comments that people wanted to say. So we got, let's see, got I have this man talking about Doug, of course. This man was honorable, truly and completely. There isn't many on YouTube that I could confidently say that about. So
No.
many have lost their way, but Doug always managed to keep 2 feet on the ground. Yeah, I
Oh,
agree with that.
totally, Heifer. Totally.
Yeah, that's great. And philosophy, we have you here. This was a couple hours ago, I think. Our
Mm.
beautiful Doug, he's so missed by so many. Thank you, Marilyn. You're very welcome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very bittersweet. I really wanted
I
to
know.
just honor him, but at the same time, it's very hard. And I don't know what he would want us to do, but damn it, I'm gonna remember him.
I want us to get really stoned and have a fucking laugh.
Well,
Probably.
I'm there with the stone. I'm
Yeah.
there.
You know what, guys? You'd be proud of me. I mean, I did quit smoking cigarettes 6 months ago on the 2nd, and
Awesome.
that was partially inspired by Doug. Even though he was like, "I don't care, I'm not quitting."
He's a
But
diehard smoker, that one.
yeah, he was, and I was too, to a degree. But I was like, you know what, it's time. And I
Yeah.
did, like, I don't really smoke weed, but I do have gummies now, and that has
Oh,
really helped me.
nice.
So I've been doing
Nice.
edibles. I wish I could tell him, like, I'm doing edibles. But they do
I
help
ate
a lot.
mine before I left LA. I ate the rest of mine, and that was a bit of an error because I was suddenly really stoned in customs. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is not a good idea. But I was fine, obviously.
Yeah, I've sent some edibles with some people overseas, and it worked out fine. They didn't get in trouble. So I don't know if the dogs can not smell them or what.
Well,
but
I think
it's
I
fine.
wasn't transporting it, so that's different.
We got Mischief Managed. Thank you so much for being a member. Xena Marlene to Doug. Right? Xena Marlene. And yeah, so much has happened in a year. Absolutely.
I know. I wish we could hear what he'd have to say about some of the
I know. It's like,
going on.
I know.
I'm just like, I wish we had Doug to bring some fucking balance to this shit. Like,
you know.
Yeah.
He well, he passed maybe a few weeks after Thanksgiving of last year, and that was when the whole, whatever you want to call it, the after flap, the flaptermath, whatever,
That
the whole that
that
whole
had
thing
just
happened.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to put this out to you too, is that I've had a lot of messages over, the past year, and it's ramped up more in the past week or so, of people, you know, being upset with some people that I'm friends with, namely Aaron. Everything's Aaron's fault. And
Yeah.
yeah, um Doug could be hard on people, and he was hard on Aaron sometimes, and that's fine. Like, I feel like everyone has their own way, has their own friends, whatever. And Doug never influenced me. Like, at that point, he knew what Mike Rinder was, about as far as his past. And he used to tell me, and I would be like, no, 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 no. I wouldn't listen to Doug. Excuse me, because I kind of worship Mike Rinder. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I really looked up to him, and he
Yeah.
did help me, Mike's writings, and
I'm
excuse me.
I'm gonna bounce out.
You
Thanks.
gotta go.
Marcus.
Yeah,
Lots of love,
Okay.
and just have a good evening. Take care of
I'm
yourself.
done. Yep, I got a full day
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. I hope I didn't offend you talking about Mike Rinder, because I'm fine with that. Like, my point was that he never influenced me to be friends or not be friends with anyone. So
Mm.
in a way, is what I wanted to say, was that I feel like I can keep his memory alive and still be my own person. So, not speculating what would he think, because I do want to make people proud that have passed, but at the same time, I feel like I want to be my own person and do my own thing.
Mm.
So that's just
Well,
what I
that you should
say.
definitely do your own thing for sure.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Marcus, and
You
I
do
appreciate
you.
you. Yeah,
Everybody should
exactly.
do that.
Exactly. And I
Yes.
guess what the reason I said that is because nobody can speculate what Doug would even say right now.
No. No.
Like, we don't know.
No idea.
And but anyways, I'll let you go, Marcus.
All
I just
right.
wanted to make sure you
All
weren't
right.
upset with what I had to say, because I wasn't trying to get spicy at all.
No, I'm just it hit me. I'm way too stoned, man, which is good.
Have a good sleep then.
All
Yeah,
right.
live long
Good
and
night.
prosper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
Bye.
Marcus. I
He's
used
so
to love
sweet.
watching Doug and Marcus's streams, man.
I know. That's awesome. Yeah.
But some of them, I'm not gonna lie, some of them got pretty intense because they were actually doing the thing, like what they actually do in the cult. They were actually doing it on screen. Him and Marcus would do it. And I remember one time I was watching it and I was like, fuck, I got really stoned and I thought, shit, man, I think I'm getting brainwashed. I had to have a break. Because
Oh
when
my
you're
God, that's so
listening
funny.
to those drills over, the repetitiveness of those drills, I mean, it's pretty fucking intense.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Yeah.
Mm.
That's crazy. I just saw a comment from, oh, where'd it go? From Liz. Hey, Liz Gale. So glad you're here, honey.
Hi, Liz.
And this is exactly, see, she's a writer and a communicator. That's why I said,
Yeah.
I'm not a good communicator, but a lot of you are.
Hey, you're not. Hey, you're
And
good, Marilyn.
this is kind of what I was trying to say, is that to me, Doug was an example of how to follow the beat of your own drum, no matter what. And as a fellow ex-Scientologist, that's a priceless role model. Absolutely. That is
Yes.
very well said. Perfectly. Yeah.
Exactly.
He really was. And he really inspired me to find my own way, because when I first started talking to him, I was new in this whole ex-cult space. I felt very alone at times, and a lot of their stories really, really helped me, in meeting people like Liz Gale. I mean, that was just amazing. She knows she means a lot to me. So glad you're here, Liz.
Yeah, I think the ex-Scientology community, they're very good at communicating, and for a cult that shuts down feelings, I mean, when they leave and they open up, they're very empathetic, and you really feel the emotions with which they talk. And I think that's why the audience really connects with a lot of the SPTV channels,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Christine Everett Newton. Hello, I miss Doug too, and that's how I found Marilyn and Marissa. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, remember
yeah.
that. That's awesome.
Do you know,
And I think
I
Marissa
found
might be
Maurice.
having some problems with her phone. She has a
Yeah,
new
she said
phone.
she got a new phone. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that her name of her channel was a wordplay on Dianetics. Like I hadn't clicked
Oh,
because
really?
I'm a little bit dyslexic, so sometimes I don't get things when I read them. I have to hear
Yeah.
it, and then when Doug was saying like he said the name of her channel, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. I wondered why her name's Marisa, but the channel's called Diane. I was like, I just thought it was her middle name or something.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember how I think I knew her name from the beginning, and I think maybe either I messaged her, she messaged me on Facebook. So that's how I knew her real name. And then Doug, of course, was friends with her. So I knew her that way. But when I first saw her making videos was, and not to, oh God, I feel like I keep bringing
Marisa
up
cracks
spicy
me up.
things that are going to make people be like, oh my God, Marilyn, shut up. But
Oh,
ZDT,
fuck.
she
Yeah.
did videos in the beginning of all that ZDT crap. And so that's how I first discovered Marisa.
Yeah.
And then when I became friends with Doug, like, yeah, they had a history together. So that was really cool.
Well, I think both of them like just do it head on. Like it's like they just talk about it. They're not afraid to like
Yeah.
address the elephant in the room that no one else wants to talk about.
Yeah. George, this makes a lot of sense. Doug was way ahead of the curve on so many
Yeah.
ex-Scientology topics and characters that we've only just come to realize the truth of his words in the past year.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with
Totally.
that.
I agree with that 100%. Like he made me realize a lot because I didn't know a lot about Scientology until, like I say, until I started watching Aaron and Doug.
Yeah.
But I think some people try and use one of Doug's last videos just when the aftermath thing was kicking off, where he was critical of Aaron, but Doug was critical of everyone, including himself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what his views would be now, and I think it's weird for people to tell you to, get involved with those dramas with people.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few people, just between me and you and the 60 people that are watching, that Doug would be very ashamed of me, that Doug would, be very upset with me. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe he would. But at the same time, I know he always wanted me to do my own thing and not even care what anyone thought, even him, So I I feel like I was freed from that because I was like, you know what? I'll listen to people's advice but I'm not going to,
Yeah.
not be true to myself. So, yeah.
Well, advice is advice. It's up to you if you want to take it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like you can't give people advice and then be like, oh, well, you have to take my advice. Well, no, I don't. It's just your advice.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
opinion.
And the thing is too, like, okay, well, if he would be mad at me for being friends with someone, he wasn't when he was alive. So I don't think he
But
would be
people have
now.
said that about me. I mean, we had a conversation about it, Marilyn, where, people were saying the same thing to me. And I told Marilyn that. And you said to me that people say that to you. And it's like, fuck them. How dare they try and speak for someone else that they don't even know? I mean, and say that they're ashamed of me or of you, because I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Because I think Doug just wanted people to be themselves, and people do what they do. I don't think he was judgmental in the way that
No,
some people
I
are
don't think he was
judgmental.
either. No, he could be, spicy sometimes and tell it like it is, but he was
Yeah.
also very respectful. He was. That's how I
And I think
experienced
he
him.
gave grace for people. Like, we're not right all the time. Sometimes everyone gets things wrong, and it's important to own that. And I think he gave grace for that.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. That was my experience for sure.
Yeah.
And that's all I can go on. So if someone says, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
a bad person," I'm like, "Well, okay, well, that's not my
Okay.
experience, but thank you for letting me know."
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hev says, "Oh, remember this? The phone call to the org asking about Xenu is so brilliant." Yeah,
Oh, that was
so
so funny.
the prank call to the
Mm.
Dianetics. Yeah, that was so
And then
funny.
her name was Mary Jane as
I
well.
know.
So
And
It
he
was
got
like,
her to say
no,
Xenu. And then he was like, Xanu. Like he was such a good bullshitter in that
Xanu.
way.
Oh my God. It's like, Doug, you're trying so hard to not sound like a Scientologist.
I thought he
Xanu.
did great. He did great.
Like Xanadu, like that movie with, what's her name in it? Olivia Newton-John.
Say that again.
Xanadu, like
Oh,
Xanu, like
yes, yes.
Xanadu.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Lisa Hughes. Hi, everyone. Hello, Lisa. I started watching Doug about 6 months before he died. I really loved his vibe.
Mm.
I agree. I agree.
I used to watch his first channel because he'd uploaded all these serial killer documentaries like in full. And I do like watching things about serial killers. So I used to watch all of those as well. And I was like, oh, he's into serial killers too. I'm like, okay.
It is very fascinating. Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, that's one thing that I had in common with Doug too. We would talk so much about just the human condition, like human
Mm.
behavior and the psychology behind so many crazy, things like
It's
narcissism,
so interesting.
Yeah. He talked a lot about, psychopathy and narcissism. And
Yeah.
I was really fascinated with that.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy shit, Call Examiner.
Yeah.
Hey there. Sons of Sam miniseries on Netflix. Yeah, I started watching that and that
Okay.
was intense. Yeah, there's
Well,
ties to the Satanic Church. There's ties to the Process
the
Church.
Protestant church. Yeah.
Yeah, and Scientology. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I never knew. I'd heard about the process years ago, with like Charles Manson, and then I love my music, and I'm a real big fan of George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, which is like 1970s. I don't. They're great. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was reading a book about him, and he was involved with the Process Church, and it influenced his music. And so I'd heard about it a few times, but I didn't know it was connected to Scientology until I saw the videos Doug did about it. It's fascinating.
Yeah, so
But
interesting.
what's so interesting about Scientology is all the offshoots of it and all the ways it's integrated into other things. It's like Aaron did a video about it, or was it Aaron or Natalie? One of them was I think it was Natalie talking about all the different front groups that they operate through and how you can get roped in through these other organizations that don't act
Yep.
like, you don't know they're Scientology or a cult. It could not be Scientology. It could be another cult.
Yep, absolutely. And Snooki said, I literally play Holiday Road song every day in his memory. Aw.
Yeah, I love that.
I miss him too. Mhm. Julia
I love
says he was
Julia
trying to show similarities in a lot of cults in a way that I could understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
He
But
really
yeah.
did do that, eh? It was like you just could see all the similarities.
I like this comment. Brenda says, I really miss Doug. Just hearing his take on everything. He was very authentic and really let you into his struggles. He had escaping the mind games. Scientology played on him. It was a struggle and he let us see. That's a really good point because he was very transparent about that. And he did have a rough time with certain things and shared his life and a lot of his struggles with us, even like the disconnection from his parents and talking about his mother and reconnecting with her, which was planned, it never quite happened, but yeah. So he was very human,
Yeah, I think that was something that was so, it was really good about him, how he did that. And he was very vulnerable in that way.
Yeah. Sharona says, Doug was so patient, understanding, and gentle. I'm getting emotional with Marilyn. Well, she told her story. It was a gift to all of us to hear it in that way. Yeah. He's definitely the right person. You tell my story.
He really
too.
held space for you. And whenever he did interviews, he really held space for people and really backed them up, and I think he'd be really proud of you, Marilyn. And
thank you.
Anyone that says any different is just being like an idiot, basically.
Thank you. I'm so glad that Doug was a terrible Scientologist because he was so he was so compassionate, and that's just not
So
Scientology.
compassionate. And I
Yeah.
think that shows in like H.G. Tudor, the psychopath, and that beautiful, heartfelt tribute he did to Doug.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the dude is I can't even listen to him without Doug interviewing him.
He's
Just to be
fucking
honest,
scary.
I can't. There's something about the tone of his voice. I can't handle it. But when Doug was interviewing him, I think Doug's voice just balanced it out. But um, to see that tribute, and I think because H.G. Tudor really respected Doug because of Doug's empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he really did. And that's a testament to Doug's hard work. He did that himself. He built himself back from nothing. I mean, it's
Yeah,
incredible.
absolutely.
It's incredible. And that's
And
why I always used to say that to him in the chat. I always used to like put that in comments to him just to remind him, because yeah, it's like to come back from that with what happened to him. I can't even imagine that, being homeless on the streets of Los Angeles, losing your mind, your entire belief system, your entire and when Doug woke up from the cult, he woke up from not just his cult, the world cult, you know, he could see the conditioning in all aspects of society. So that's really overwhelming. And to be able to sit there in the still way he did and articulate how he did it, I mean, it was remarkable. And I think he really should be given credit for that. I don't think was an easy thing to do at all.
absolutely. He was definitely a seeker, a searcher, and he didn't stop. He was always, looking for answers and very open-minded, and he was very strong. Like, yeah, well, everything that he went through to still be the person that he became, it's just amazing.
Well, and just the level of psychosis that Scientology can induce in people is it's really terrifying.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, combating cult mind control. I was trying to remember I always forget the title of it. Stephen Hassan. I'm glad Doug read that book to get out of this cult of Scientology. Yeah. And that book was like left on his doorstep by a friend, right?
Yeah, by
Something
that
like that
guy from his acting studio.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. I mean, it just explains, you read the bite model and you just can apply it to everything in it. You can see if someone's using propaganda on you, you just apply that. And it does work every time.
Joel says, Doug spoke his mind, told how he saw it. If he was wrong, he owned it. He was always Doug, no fake stuff, a rare type of person. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Totally agree.
Hey, Love It's here.
Oh, love it.
I love it. Glad you're here. So yeah, I'm caught up. I don't know if Marisa was planning on coming back on. She has a new phone, so she's having trouble, I think. I haven't heard from her. So
yeah, well, she said it's not working properly or something. So
yeah.
It was so
thank
nice
you
to hang
everybody
out
for
with you.
being. Yeah, thank you for being here, everybody. And you saw her in person. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was cool. It was just like hanging out with an old friend.
Yeah, that's what she said too. And that's what she said. And Tori too. You met Tori.
Yeah, and I got to see Tori, and she's just the same as she is in her videos. She's exactly the same, just lovely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
so but a year too late to meet Doug, but
I know, but I don't know. I never met him in person, but I felt like I knew him, So he was, very. See you, Marlene, one more time. Okay, yeah, I think we're gonna wind down. I've had such a long day, and I know everybody's tired. So let's do a Zena Marlene. Here we go.
I'll spark my smoke. Smoking's really unfashionable in New Zealand. Like our last government tried to ban smoking completely.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't judge because I did it for many years and I still miss it sometimes, but I know for me, I just have a very weak lungs and weak everything. So, and for me, I needed to stop.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna
emergency
have to stop.
situation. So
Well,
yeah.
that's so good you've done that though, Marilyn.
Oh,
It's so hard.
I still am like afraid that I'm going to screw up, but it's been 6 months and I haven't given in. So thank you,
Oh,
Joel. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Yeah.
uh,
So I'm
yeah.
thinking maybe I'll play the intro,
Okay.
outro again. And yeah, if you want to hang out, we'll talk backstage if you want. Thank you
Okay.
everyone for being here. Yeah, I just wanted to just honor Doug and just talk to you all and keep his memory alive in any way that we can. And yeah, R.I.P. Doug. We love you, Doug, wherever you are. Thank you, Cindy. All right, everyone, have a great night, and I will take us out with this one.
I found out long ago it's a long way down the holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Take a ride on the West Coast Kid. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday road. Holiday